There are many different types of natural stones to choose when you're going over your countertops. You've got marble, quartz, granite, and more. Some of those range from extremely expensive to maybe a little bit less expensive, and they also range from very hard to very soft. Today we're going to learn Fantasy Brown, which is a combination of quartzite and marble that has been fused together in Mother Nature. And what also makes it unique is it has a sandy earth tones compared to the grays that you normally find in marble. Today I'm going to learn how Keith from KCDC Designs creates fantasy marble using epoxy. What is the first step, my man?
First step is let's get some colors down.
All right, what colors are you working with?
We're going to be working with a pearl white, which is a just resin color.
All right.
We're going to be using white metallic, which is a polycolor metallic.
Sure.
Mica powder.
Copy that.
And then in this cup, I've got some diamond dust, which is also a polycolor. And then I have just a small, tiny little bit of white dye, illuminate white dye, just to kind of give it that milky look.
Sure.
And I'm doing that just so we have a little bit of some areas, a little bit of bling.
Cool.
Don't have to do that. You can do that if you want. We're just going to kind of pour these out randomly to give us our base, give us our undertones, and then we're going to start adding in some fun colors.
And we'll start adding in colors with those spray paints?
Absolutely.
While you get those down, I'll let the audience know what we're working on. Today we have a piece of MDF. This is wood. I've doubled that up and it made a rock face edge. Before we've applied our epoxy, we fogged a couple of the colors that we're going to be bringing on to those edges. That creates a little bit of visual interest. So, because when that epoxy flows over that edge, it's really going to look nice. All right, what you got down? White. I'm going to get one down. You just go in random areas with this, Keith?
Yeah, so that one is going to be, that's our bling.
That's our accent.
We're going to want that. If we put that down too thin, it's going to get lost in everything else. If we have just some areas where that kind of
so you're talking like
out.
this.
Yeah, exactly. Biggest thing is we really don't want to overthink this. We're just getting down our base colors. We're getting down that visual interest.
Save any of this, or are we full sending that whole cup?
Save just a little bit because of the fact that it's our bling. The other thing I'm always aware of when I'm pouring my colors out, in this particular one, I want the flow going this way. Sometimes I want the flow going diagonal. What I don't want to do is I don't want to run all the way straight across and kind of give that too man-made look. Yeah, kind of a candy cane.
Sure.
So now what we're going to do is we're just going to meld this in, and really all we're trying to do is just get our dry areas covered. We really don't want to mix the colors together. We just want to basically get the board covered.
You got it.
What I like to also do, Mitch, is once I get my epoxy down, especially if I have fogged my edges, is I want to get some epoxy on those edges right away. So as the epoxy starts to flow, it's going to flow evenly over that fogged edge, because there are times where it can pick up that spray paint and kind of reactivate that and create some runs.
Sure.
So by getting that greased right away, then I know I'm going to get a nice even flow. You notice that nice rock edge we're working with?
Yeah, it's a real pretty edge. It's one of my favorites there, and Kenny made that from RK3. So you talked on it earlier, and you mentioned you want to get rid of that man-made look, and that's exactly what I do with every one of my pieces. I came from the granite industry. I love natural stones. I love rocks. So whenever I'm making a countertop, I go back to that past. I'm trying to mimic and replicate what Mother Nature does. Right. And we have little tools and techniques that we teach in this channel that do that in various different color schemes. I love working with this. I've never actually made a fantasy brown, Keith. I've seen many of yours on Insiders, on your own YouTube channel. And I've been excited ever since we talked about doing this project together.
Yeah, I'm excited to show you. It's a simple technique, really not a lot of rocket science to it. Yeah. And the nice part is you can use any colors that you want, and you can use various techniques to give various looks of striations. And that's kind of what, to me, when I saw the fantasy marble, was more of striations.
Cool. All right, we got our resin down. We've mixed up and applied about 3 ounces per square foot, right?
Correct.
That's a good pro tip to follow. Unless you're going to do an exotic pour, a dirty pour, you're going to mix up about 3 ounces per square foot. That gives you the least amount of waste.
Right.
All right, what's the next step?
Look what we've done here, and this is going to soften up over time. But by pouring those colors out the way we did, we don't have those long lines of one single color.
Yes.
But we've got some areas where, just like in natural stone, you're going to see
little pockets.
Different areas. Yeah, exactly, little pockets.
And that's what you're talking about, putting a big blob of that diamond dust so it doesn't get over melded and just mixed. We have a nice section there.
Now,
we're
if
gonna
I
torch this?
Yes. Now, if I stand back and look at this and I see that I have an area that may be too much, if I think that's too big of an area of diamond dust, I'm just going to take a little bit of that and just kind of run that in there.
Yes, sir.
Just to break that up a little bit.
All right, we got the epoxy down. You removed the air with a torch. We adding some colors?
Yep.
Let's go.
All right, let's go on to the next step. All right, basically I'm just going to be using spray paints to create this.
Cool.
And I'm using the spray paint colors that, in this particular one, we're going to kind of go with some earth tones, some lighter browns, some darker browns. I do have a few metallic colors in there.
All right.
So we're going to get a little mud and nutmeg. And I got some leather brown.
All right, how many times have you made this color, Keith?
This is really, really popular design.
Yeah.
Colors have varied between customer to customer, but the design itself is very popular because it's very neutral and it can really go along with about any decor without being too loud, without being too bold.
Awesome. So how long have you been in business?
Thanks to Stone Coat. I mixed my first epoxy October 2019, and by September 1 of 2020, I went full-time. I've been doing this full-time going on 3 years, and I can't thank Stone Coat enough for all the tutorials and teaching us the basics and giving us the tools to be able to do the things we do, create the things we create. I've absolutely been having a ball doing this.
Yeah, you're making some really cool stuff out there, Keith. I've seen a lot of your work, a lot of your YouTube videos. You do some pretty cool tutorials. So
Thanks,
you're just blasting down little bits of color, and you're grabbing little bits of every color.
Yeah. So, a couple different ways I can make this. If I have a really large surface, I'm going to take this really expensive Bondo spreader. All I did was took the scissors, cut out some notches. I can use my stick to do that, or I can take my Bondo spreader, and I'm just going to kind of get this started.
Now that's cool.
Of making those striations.
I love that about epoxy. I mean, we're using our gloved hands. Now you're using a $2 tool that you made yourself. I mean, that's awesome. That looks cool.
Yeah.
I've never thought about melding with a beard comb. I was going to ask you to clean me up before you hit the epoxy.
That could work.
But now,
that could work.
Now
that
my beard will stay like that forever.
I've seen kitty litter scoopers that have the little notches on the end. Anything you can find can be a tool for you to use. So while that sits there for just a minute, I want to show you one other way, I guess, that you can do this. If you see, because of the fact that I did this immediately when the spray paint was wet, you see the look there.
That's cool.
Now, do the same thing down there, Mitch.
How do you want it? Kind of like this, or?
You know what? Let's get.
Because that is the thing about fantasy brown, is it's usually got a striation stacked stone look, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And sometimes the flow goes in an exact pattern. Sometimes it's a little bit.
It'll flow a little bit, but you're never going to see it flowing this way and then that way.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
Keep that flow going, and that's what keeps that going natural.
That's right. If you were making your flow this way, you're going to want to do that kind of the whole project. And then, so you'll see that I'll do that on specific countertops when I'm installing them in a customer's home. Let's say the sink run runs that way and then it turns this way just a little bit. Now you have your oven chilling here, right?
Right, right.
So if I was going to bring my flow across that sink run this way, on this little guy, I would do the same flow on that little guy. It makes it a little more difficult. But in the granite industry, customers buy an entire extra slab when their slab has flow so they can match that flow. So when they have a seam there in that corner, which that's a cool thing about epoxy, usually no seams are necessary, but you don't have the flow coming this way and then the flow turning the other direction, that jumps out at you big time. So,
or if they have to cut into another slab that isn't going to be that exact same
just
thing.
For 30 inches.
Right.
That's an expensive 30-inch countertop. All right, let's go. Okay. We're talking too much.
So, perfect. Okay, add in your colors.
There's really kind of no wrong way to do this, is there, Keith?
No, but I like to put, again, not running those colors all the way across. Get a little bit of variation in there. There's some of that sand.
That's a big old tip. Like this. I love working with you, Keith. I normally am working by myself, so it's an absolute pleasure having a helper. Get some black too.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of that, huh?
Yeah, maybe one of them is going to have that color, maybe the other one's not, but they're going to tie in together. We're just going to kind of switch and swap. Now, once we do all that, then in the center here, we're just going to add a little bit of accents to kind of help all that kind of.
All right, we're letting this sit. We're not going to grab the beard comb.
Yeah, so what we're going to do with that is we're going to let those spray paints dry just a little bit.
Okay.
So we'll see the difference between running the stick through here right away when the spray paints are wet, when the spray paints are dry, and it's going to give us a little bit different look. We'll see what happens with that when we do that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
So,
kind of all these
I'm gonna run this
countertops
one.
are just a combination of separate little epoxy techniques that, when combined together on a board, give you a natural presentation of stone.
Right. What we can also do is I can take my stick. So you can do that with your stick. You can do it with your whatever kind of tool you decide to make.
Okay.
And then while I have some colors on my stick, I'm going to run some of that through here also, just so it doesn't, you know.
Yep.
What am I trying to say,
that.
Mitch?
I like it. You're feathering.
Yeah.
You're feathering the striation out, which you'll see that, and then you'll see like big old fracture in mother. I could only wish I was there when those stones were getting made, but we probably would have been boiling hot.
How cool to watch a time lapse of how that was
Serious.
developed.
Billion-year time lapse.
All right,
I don't
so
think
now
there's battery power.
I'm going to take my heat gun, and again, all I'm trying to do here is to take away that man-made look and give it kind of a little bit more of an
The
authentic
heat
look.
and air is going to meld those together, huh?
Correct.
All right, full send.
Now, I'm going to come down from the top. Kind of warm that area up a little bit, even though our epoxy right now is still very, very fluid.
I like how you're coming down from the top, because if you have an angle, you're going to push and ripple too much.
Exactly. And all I want to do is just kind of open those up.
Spallooning
They're going to
them.
close back up again after I open them, but it's going to keep a little bit of that shape to take away those exact straight lines.
And the heat and air from that heat gun is melding the colors just subtly inside that epoxy. This looks cool.
Yes.
I love that.
I was doing one once on a large countertop, and I came across and I drug my heat gun all the way through that vein. And
Like the tip of it?
Oh yeah, it was an
Starts
absolute.
stinking, huh?
It just really screwed everything up, but it didn't. And that's the glory of Stone Coat Epoxy, is the amount of working time that you have. You really can't screw anything up. And these edges are the edges that I really want to kind of feather, so it doesn't kind of have a starting point. So Mitch, now that that spray paint is dried a little bit, either take a stick or the Notch Bondo spreader.
I'm taking the Notch Bondo spreader / beard comb, and I'm going to town because I've never used this. I'm going to make one of these. That's epic. You just use scissors or utility knife?
I just use scissors.
That's epic. All right, here we go. We're melding. Yeah, look at that. It almost crackles a little bit, Keith.
Yeah, it's like it tears it.
Yeah.
But it gives it a really cool and a little bit different look.
Combine that. Man, look at that. Should I put this through here or no?
Sure. Yeah,
okay?
if you got some paint in there, just throw some extra. The thing you want to be careful of with the Notch Bondo spreader is because it does put like those trowel lines in there, you do need to work those out.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'll use my stick to put those
Copy.
in there. Now, if you look at this area here, I really don't need to run my heat gun in this area to soften those up. I mean, that looks really cool the way it is, and it's going to continue to flow. So I'll run this out here. I don't even need to do that. But where it tails out, that's where I want to soften those up to kind of take away those. And you can also use your hand too. And look how it reactivates those metallics.
Yeah, I made a boo-boo here, and I went crisscross applesauce. So I'm going to follow your lead here and do a little magic eraser.
Heck yeah.
And then that could become one of those things my brother calls a happy accident.
That happens on about every job.
Yeah, right. Something you can learn. So, same thing, Keith. I'm going to meld now my colors with the heat gun.
Yeah, and just to soften up and kind of take away those hard lines.
The more heat you're going to apply to the resin at this stage, the more fluid it's going to be. So, I'm going to come in here and kind of warm it up and then start focusing on moving.
Yeah, and don't focus on one area too long so you don't take a chance of burning.
So you've had some success, Keith, working with the epoxy for a couple years now. What's your favorite part about finding something new with epoxy, and how frequently are you learning a new technique or a new twist on an old technique?
I would say every single job, I'm learning something new. I'm learning a new twist. And my favorite part is spending time with the customer to understand their vision of what they see. And when I know that I have their vision in my mind, now I can go to work and create something that they are excited about. And that's what makes what I do so much fun, is knowing that what I'm creating is something that they might have only been able to dream of. That to me is cool. A really, really fun part. And when you go to install it, seeing the look on the customer's eyes is absolutely priceless.
I've never put it that way, Keith, but that just gave me goosebumps. Like, that's very true. I've had the customers break down in tears when they see their kitchen finished, right?
It's crazy.
Isn't it cool?
Yes,
That's one of my favorite
absolutely
parts.
Crazy.
And I tell you what, my favorite part joining Stone Coat when we had, 5,000 subscribers way back in the day, was talking to folks like you, Keith, who had another job. They worked in the insurance industry. They drove garbage trucks. They saw a video. They said, oh man, I think I could do that. I talked them through, sent them their first epoxy. Months later, they call me back. I'm out of the garbage truck, Mitch. I now am installing full time. That's my favorite part, because true American freedom is working for yourself in this country, in my opinion.
That's got to warm your heart.
It does.
Truly, truly does.
I love it. And goosebumps.
Ditto.
My arms are bigger than you.
Yeah, I noticed that. So, no, we won't be arm wrestling.
So, Keith, I noticed I'm having to spend a little bit more time because of that paint dried, right? It kind of solidified it a little bit. But as I just go nice and slow, it reinvigorates all that.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool technique.
And just kind of opens it up. You can see I really didn't move mine around a lot.
Right.
Just gave it a little bit of extra flow to it, again, to kind of take away that man-made look and take away those striations or those lines or marks that
it melds those paint colors together in a unique way that you can't do, I guess, without using the heat gun, right?
Right.
That's cool. You almost can create your little pockets of quartz as you do that, pushing the colors out of the way. Okay, there's your accent veins you're bringing in.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes on the accent veins, I may wait 15, 20 minutes to allow the epoxy to set up, to not be as fluid. And my veins are going to stay a little bit more in place as I add the spray paint colors in there. And I'm making these accents basically just with the same colors that we just got through using. What's your favorite color? Do you have a favorite spray paint or favorite accent color when you're creating something?
Not necessarily. That's all dependent, I guess, on my color scheme and what I'm building.
Right.
But I'm always using white and black usually. If they made a blue earth spray paint, that would be my go-to.
Yep, I can see that. I can see that.
How do we make the micas into spray paints? I think a guy does that in the floor industry. Have you seen those? But they're way expensive. He's put micas and propellants in a...
Look how much that has evolved.
Yeah.
Since that spray paint was put on there, the spray paint dried.
Yep.
And the difference in kind of that crackling that you see,
right.
But it's such a natural look, in my opinion, that you can do that on the same project.
And as I ballooned it out, it got these little more translucent areas, and it pushed some paint together. That is reminiscent of real natural stone, man. I love that. When I start replicating natural stone, I'm going back to one of the 1,000 granite jobs I installed in my career. I did over 100,000 square feet of granite installs over a decade. Isn't that crazy? Man, at like $4 a square foot, there's no way I made that much. I guess over 10 years.
See, when you say 1,000 square foot of granite,
way over.
My back already hurts.
I have a fake hip installed. So
just from hearing you say that.
For all you youngsters out there, go ahead, look into the epoxy as a solution. Save your hips, save your knees, save your back. This weighs way less, and it doesn't snap all the time like granite does. I haven't snapped a sink runner time or two. Okay, that's when the customer cries in the wrong way.
Right.
I've had that.
Okay, so when I do this, I'm going to take some of these same colors and I'm just going to throw some accent veins in here just in some areas to kind of break this up or just kind of help everything tie in together. Now with these colors that I just put in here, I actually would not need to do anything to it because normally I'm going to take my heat gun, which I am going to do anyway, to just open that up and move that around. But you can see all of the different colors in there, just as you would a piece of natural stone, like you said, those little pockets, or how some of those colors are still going to end up in different parts of your project. White can be dangerous, but it gives a really, really cool look.
You're just spraying the very tip. Yep.
Yeah, and I want a very little bit on there because you'll be able to see when I do that how that's almost just going to immediately spread out. All right, now I'm going to take the heat gun and we're just about done. What I do want to do is I want to take a look at the front edge. I want to see how everything has flowed over that edge.
Oh yeah, my edge here looks really nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, so does that. But that's a very good point. You come in, we have a little runs. I'm just gonna make any dry areas at this point wet. Because at this stage, quite a bit of the material's flowed over, so I could grab some of these drips, hit it on any dry areas. You're looking good though, Keith.
And doing that with those colors, the way that flows over looks really, really natural.
Yep. And then the colors kind of sit in the little pockets of that rock face edge. Woo, primo. Yeah, it looks really pretty.
Okay, so now I'm gonna take my heat gun and I'm just going to, all I wanna do really, I can do two ways. I'm gonna open it up and then I'm gonna kind of move it around a little bit too, but just by coming over the top, it's gonna open that up and it's gonna bring some of those other colors out.
What would be the latest that you would use the heat gun in a project like this?
Man, actually, I'm really glad you asked that. I had a very large countertop set that I needed to add the accent veins. I don't know if I should say this, but I was actually 2 hours into it when I still had another vein to run.
Hey, that's still going to bond and fuse together.
Right. What I noticed was, of course, the epoxy had set up so much when I ran the vein. I mean, it almost spread the resin, right, as I ran that.
Yep.
But I was still able to use a heat gun. I was still able to manipulate it and still get it to look like all of the other accent veins I put in there. So, Mitch.
Yeah.
When I talk to the customers, I explain to them that it's endless of what you can do, right? The colors, you name it, whatever you want to do. So I'll ask the customer, what's your backsplash? Are you changing appliances? Are you changing your drawer pulls, handle pulls, things like that? So I might add a little bit of brass to tie in with handle pulls. So if the customer says, and I think I got some here. Do you believe that?
What do you got?
Well, the customer says, yeah, Keith, actually, we're going to get brand new stainless steel appliances. All right, well, how about if we add just a few silver accents in there to kind of help tie in with all that?
And I could see how this project would be easy to replicate on a kitchen that has many pieces, right?
Yes.
This is going to be a real simple, using the same kind of ratio of spray paint colors to get those projects to look like they've been cut out of the same slab of granite, because that's also pretty important.
When I do a full countertop set, I'll lay that out the way it's going to be in the kitchen. So if there's a break here, the stove is here, there's another countertop piece here, so I know exactly how that flow is going to go, so when it's all in place, everything looks like and is flowing together.
I think I'm going to have to go home and make my own version of this, man. I love this.
Yeah, and it's easy to do.
And while doing my fantasy brown research on the old Google, I realized and learned that there are also fantasy marbles in many different types of color schemes. So this one, the fantasy brown, keeps those earth tones, very subtle grays, but there are fantasy blues. You add blue to a project, woohoo, price tag through the roof.
Even a color like this, because you're using browns, I had a customer that had a rustic red brick backsplash, and so I found a kind of that rustic red or that burnt orange and added just some real tiny accents in there. It's amazing how that all ties together.
I had a couple horseshoes right here I didn't like, so I'm gonna eliminate that. See the little horseshoes? Just gonna balloon them out. And you have a good hour or so, maybe a little bit longer, to use this heat gun to balloon out colors. All right, let's go. You adding that silver?
So I have two silvers. I have silver metallic and then chrome, and I'll show you the difference between the two. So we might put just a little bit of We might just run a little bit of silver right there.
Ooh, cool.
Maybe just a little bit of silver in here.
I love that in natural stone too. That you'll see this all the time.
Little pieces in different places.
Like the Van Gogh I did had the bronze sections in throughout the blue. And looking back on that, I almost used too little of those accents. I looked back at some of the Van Goghs and they had like big chunks of silver, of bronze. That is cool, Keith. Yeah, that's a cool, neat way to accent it in right to their existing decor. That's very cool. You can also do that with artwork, stuff like that. They have their fancy, like Rhonda has said, the multicolored chicken that you gotta, you know, throw a couple colors in. You will not believe how happy your customer will be when you tie in their favorite throw pillow to their countertops.
You never know what they might want.
But they love it.
Hey, if that's what they want, everybody has their own tastes.
It's like Betty going around to all the granite shops going, where is that burnt orange that matches my chicken?
Yes.
She's never gonna find it. And if she does, it's gonna cost maybe over $100 a square foot to even buy the slab. So, you know, make your customers super happy. Going and finding a slab that fits in your decor is one of the biggest challenges in a kitchen redesign. So if you struggle, you can't find that perfect slab. Then you find that slab that you kind of like. Then you get to sit down and hear how much it costs. Go on vacation. Use epoxy. Save thousands of money, right, man?
Absolutely, every single time.
Keith, this piece
and they will tell you.
Looks fantastic. I learned some tips and tricks from you. Cool. I learned about the beard comb notch trowel, man. I am gonna make one of these things. That looks way cool. Because if you were to sit there and do it with your lines, sometimes you get into the horseshoes, right?
Yes,
the little rainbows.
Yeah, exactly.
So this was a good way of keeping those all flowing. You've got like the stacked wood grain. Dude, this is epic. And I love how you added your accent colors like I did in the Van Gogh. To keep the binge watch going, I'll leave a link right here. Check out Van Gogh Granite. That stuff is over $400 a square foot in the real world. Learn how to make it for thousands less. Guys, thanks for watching. Go subscribe to KCDC, Keith McGinnis, KCDC Designs on YouTube. Give him subscribe. He teaches you how to do this step by step. Thanks for watching, everybody, from Stone Coat Countertops. Until next time, don't forget, you got this, and we'll see you on the next video.